There are several tracking codes which you'll want to install on your website, including Google Analytics, AdWords remarketing, hopefully call tracking, maybe AdWords conversion tracking, maybe a couple other things. Now, those are all going to be separate codes that you could just add to your website in whatever way you currently manage codes on your website. But a tool that I really love to use is Google Tag Manager. The way Google Tag Manager works is you create an account and it creates what they call a container, which is one snippet of code. You put that code on your website, and then moving forward, you can install as many pieces of code as you want on your website through the Google Tag container. Just hit one button in Google Tag Manager to publish each new code or test each new code, and you don't have to change any code on your website ever again. So it's a pretty sweet deal, and it's free. Which is one of the things that we love about Google. And it's also got great integrations with AdWords and Analytics. So you don't have to use Google Tag Manager, but I recommend that you do so. And I'm going to create an account here and show you exactly how to make that happen. And I'll show you around inside the software, show you how to use it. So first, just go to google.com/tag manager. And I'm doing this in the same under the same Google login as the Gmail account we created and the AdWords account we created. It's just easy to do it in that way. I'm going to go ahead and sign in here. And I can just sign in because I'm already logged into the AdWords account. Just got my information saved there. Or you could just create a new account. It doesn't matter. And so here we're going to set up a Google Tag Manager account. So first we can put our company name. I'm just going to put example company, and you can check that box there if you want to share data anonymously with Google. Doesn't really matter what you choose there. Then I'll hit continue, and then you create your container name. And you could have multiple containers in a account, or multiple accounts, one per website. Typically, the easiest thing to do is just name your container your URL. So I'm just going to say www.example.com. And then if you're using this on a website, select web. If you're using this in an app, you would select either the iOS or Android options, but that's kind of its own world, and that's not going to apply to most small businesses. So let's go ahead and create this container here, and we'll agree to Google's terms of service. The beautiful thing about this also is that you could share access to this account with multiple people. So you could give your IT team access to it, you could give your marketing team access to it, and set different levels of permissions. And it's just a huge time saver and money saver on the code implementation side of things. So you can see right here, this is the code that you'll need to install on your website. If you want to, you can copy it now, or I'll show you how to get to that later on. And we'll go ahead and hit OK for now. All right, so this is the user interface for Google Tag Manager, and you can see nothing has been published yet. The container is not published. There are no unpublished changes. Let me go back here. Basically, you add changes, as many as you need to, and then you publish them. Until you publish them, they just live in here. They're not active on your website, although you can test them to some extent. And then once you publish them, they're active on your website. So this here is the overview page. I'll go up here first to the accounts level and show you. You could have another container there, but I'll go ahead and click on that container name. That's the container we just created. There are different versions, what Google Tag Manager calls versions of code, and basically every time you publish your code, it creates a new version. So if there's a scenario where you make some mistake or your code is interfering with other code on your website, you could easily go back to a previous version and basically erase all the changes that you'd made after that version. Then on the admin tab, this is where you can change different account settings, like whether you want to share data with Google. You can take a look at account activity. So change history is super helpful, especially if you have multiple people working in here. And then user management. You can add new users and manage their levels of permissions and access from here. And so you can do that. Let me back up here. You can do that at the account level. You can do the same thing at the container level. So if you had multiple containers, you could give different people access to different containers. And if you need to grab that code that we just saw for installing the Google Tag Manager on your website, you can go down here under Container to install Google Tag Manager, and there's the code right there. You'll just copy that and paste that into your website. And there's just some different things there. You probably won't need access to any of those, but just some different options. So let's go back to the container. And so to add new tags, you can click this button here or just go over here to the tags option. And here we go. There are no tags yet, so obviously nothing is showing up here. To create a new tag, you just hit the red button, and it gives you a bunch of different options for easy integration with things. You'll see Google Analytics and Google AdWords are both options, as well as some other advertising channels and reporting tools. And then you can add pretty much anything else that you want to add down here as a custom HTML tag or a custom image tag. So Google Tag Manager is not just for Google tags. You can use this tool to manage most of the codes on your website. So this is actually very helpful beyond AdWords and advertising. So this is a great tool to make use of. And then you would just go ahead and choose what you wanted to do. You could do a custom HTML tag, and then you tell Google, let's see if we can make that work. You tell Google where to fire the code. So, for example, if you have analytics code, you'd want to fire that on all pages. You just select that option. But then say that you have AdWords tracking code that you only want to fire on thank you pages. Then you could choose some pages and create a rule to only fire it when a specific page URL is fired. You could also do it based on clicks. So when someone clicks a button in a form, for example, then you could fire conversion code at that point. And then there are other options based on how long someone spent on the site, just a bunch of different things. So this is a very intuitive interface, but also very powerful. There's a lot of options here for ways that you can track things. Let's go ahead and discard that. All right. So tags are the actual tracking codes or whatever kind of codes you put on your website. Triggers. Let's take a look at this. This is what actually triggers a code for being fired. So you can create triggers here based on page views or clicks or form submissions, etc. Variables, you can turn on different variables. This speaks to, these variables are incorporated into the triggers. So you can base your triggers upon different variables and then base your tags firing upon different triggers. And if you want to, you can create folders where you can put different elements. I don't typically use folders, but if you're going to have a large website with lots of different tags and data, you might be able to use that and find that helpful. So the way it works is, you add the tag, and then you publish it, click the button. You could preview it first or publish it, and then you could go to your website after clicking the preview button, and a white box will pop up at the bottom of your website, and it will tell you, for each page that you're on, it will tell you which codes are firing and which codes aren't firing, which is a super helpful way of finding out if your codes are firing properly. So that's pretty much it. You don't have to use Google Tag Manager. I recommend it. If you're using a WordPress site, there are several Google Tag Manager plugins that you could use, and there probably are some plugins for other types of content management systems as well. But yeah, make use of this, and it'll make your life easier.